When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So, finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing toward that big business goal.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast for online business owners. They were so good, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content, anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeline Daigen, and this is
#managed. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of #managed. I'm Jessica. Hey Madeline, how's it going? How was your weekend?
It's going good, and my weekend was a lot of fun. I was back home in Indiana. I got to take my friend Allie out for sushi, and then I got to see my nieces in Dayton, Ohio, which was good. So overall, it was a pretty good weekend. Now it's just kind of playing catch up. So yeah, how was your weekend?
It was good. My weekend was full of doing absolutely nothing because the weekend before it was so busy. So I just needed like a good, I was gonna say I needed a good rot weekend, but I recently saw
Hmm.
something on TikTok that was like, we shouldn't call it a rot day or rot weekend. Now I can't remember what that was. So I'll have to go back and dig through like my saved TikToks to find it. But it was good. I'm pretty sure like Brian and I spent the entire weekend just like in the sun, in the pool, like just literally doing absolutely nothing. So it was really nice. And I had a couple of yoga classes in the mix. And I have to say, I'm like I told Ryan, I'm like, Madeline's gonna be so happy with me because I'm like, I'm addicted to
Mm-hmm.
hot yoga. Like when I am not there, I am sad.
Yes. Oh, that was the other thing. I gotta do a solid core workout because Indy
Oh, yeah.
has solid core,
Yeah.
and so I went with my friend Allie. So we did that in the morning. Basically, we just had a girls' day, which was awesome.
Mhm.
But the entire time, it's been years, like a year or so since I've done a solid core class, and we both like when the lights went down, we both just looked at each other, like took a deep breath. We're like, oh God, we're doing this, and
Mhm.
by I think lunchtime, there were muscles in my body that I'm like, I forgot these existed. I forgot I had these in my body.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, but I loved it. I'm still sore, and I that's why I love solid core. I want to find a solid core type class here. I'm just
Mhm.
not sure. Charleston has them, so I'll just stick to my hot yoga. But yes, I love that for
Mhm.
you. I love that for
Yeah.
you.
Yep, I'm in a new era for sure, but I love that. It sounds like you had an awesome perfect day in terms of like workout, sushi date, obviously
Mhm.
like being back home, friend time. So that's awesome. So
Yes.
before we dive into our segments for this show, you probably read the title of this episode, and I'm glad you clicked it to listen. I know our weekly listeners, of course, are not going to miss an episode. And we did talk about this last week as well with what our intentions for this episode were. So I do want to just start off with a really quick disclaimer that in this episode, we're diving into the complexities of managing social media during an election year, which we are in. As social media managers, our goal is to provide you with the tools and strategies to navigate this challenging time while maintaining a neutral stance. Emphasis on neutral stance. Please note that our discussion is intended to be unbiased, focusing solely on best practices and approaches that help you stay professional and respectful in your online presence. So, without further ado, we'll get into our segments and then we'll get into the topic of this episode. But, Madeline, do you want to kick us off with your weekly report?
Yes. Okay. So I know last week I said I was going to start Dare to Lead, but excuse me. I said I was going to start Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, but I switched it up on you guys, and instead I started last night How Starbucks Saved My Life by Michael Gates Gill. It was a book that I just randomly found in my parents' house. I was like, I'm gonna take this one. So
Yeah.
I've only read I think like 5 pages, but I am excited to read that. Then for eating, I'm eating pre-made salads. The
Mhm.
ADHD is ADHDing, like, I just have 0 time to be bothered. So, those pre-made salads from, honestly, any grocery store, Trader Joe's has
Mhm.
them, all those. That is what we're sticking to. That is the current hyperfixation. For playing, I'm listening on repeat to Sabrina Carpenter's new album, Short and Sweet. Love it. I love it. Okay.
Mhm.
Obsessing over hairpins and other hair accessories. So last week, I don't think I talked about this on the podcast, but I went to a salon to help me create some tutorials for the boutique to again showcase the hair accessories that we have in the boutique. And I've been one who has always wanted to know how to use a hairpin.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I feel like it's a night in the 90s, you'd always see the characters wearing like taking a pencil and putting it in their hair and like doing like the sexy messy hair look, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
but like how do you do that? And so they showed me how to do it. I haven't perfected it yet, but I am obsessed with it. And then I'm recommending Tom Ford Slim Lip Color Shine. So I actually
Mm.
included that in last week's report where I told you guys that I was recommending finding a lip shade, like your signature lip
Mhm.
shade. I'm currently wearing Final Bow, but I'm realizing that it's more of a summer red, that I need to find like a good burgundy red,
Mhm.
but I love the formula of this. Like
Mhm.
like, I know, like, it's nice. And
Mhm.
then for treating myself, I'm treating myself to a new notebook because if you know Jessica and I, like, we have multiple to-do lists on our computers, on our phones, and yes, in a handy dandy notebook. So, as you
Mhm.
can see, we need a new one. So, that is what I'm treating myself to this week.
Yeah.
But okay, what your report.
Yeah. Okay, let me dive into mine. So for reading, I started If You Would Have Told Me. It is the memoir of John Stamos. And I know that we've talked about like our obsession with celebrity memoirs, but it's just so good. I don't know why, but when I read a celebrity memoir, I have, you have all the thoughts of in your head of who the celebrity is and your perception of them. And, a couple of my other favorite memoirs, Britney Spears had a really great one. Matthew Perry of Friends, I thought his was really great as well. But it's such a good book. I don't know. So I hesitated because I was in the Kindle store. I was going to buy it and I saw a couple of other like new reads, a couple of books that I think like you've read, Madeline, or like we've talked about in the past. But I was like, I don't know. I was like, maybe I shouldn't read it. But I ended up buying it and I think I'm probably in the 3rd or 4th chapter now, and it's such a great book. So I'm excited to get through even further along in his life story, because of course I need like all the Uncle Jesse content. So
Yeah.
I will share that once I do. But I think if you like celebrity memoirs, definitely read this. Or again, I think this is a really good recommendation for someone who wants to get into reading. I think celebrity memoirs really
Okay.
fall
Mhm.
under like a good easy read. So, definitely recommending that. For what I'm eating, I am obsessed, which is so funny that I'm gonna say this, but I am obsessed with sushi lately. So I love sushi, and so I'm like so jealous that I was not there for Madeline's Girls' Day. But every time Ryan and I are like, where do we want to go for lunch? Where do we want to order in? Every time I'm like sushi. I'm absolutely obsessed, and more specifically, any sort of like spicy raw and like roll with a crunch. And I will say, like, when it comes to sushi, I'm more of like a classic roll kind of girl than like a signature roll, like at a sushi place. Like, I
Oh,
don't
okay.
like I like both. I do, and I like raw, I like cooked. But I don't know, I just like the classic. So, anyway, that's what I'm currently fixating on, and I'm probably gonna order way too much of it, and I'll be sick of it soon, but for now, that's what I'm eating a ton of. For playing, I watched last night the new episode in season 4 of Only Murders in the Building, the series with Selena Gomez, and I don't know why, but I love that series. It is so like the combination of Selena and Martin Short and Steve Martin. It's just I don't know. It's so funny to me. I love the mystery aspect of it. And when um I think I think last year, there was some random time where I think I was meeting Ryan in the city for something, like, after work, and so, of course, I had to go see the Arconia in real life, and so I thought that was so cool. So, again, favorite thing that I'm playing right now, really bummed that I have to watch 1 episode every single Tuesday. I wanna just
Oh,
binge
okay.
it, and that I
Mhm.
didn't realize that until I finished the first one, and I'm like, "Oh, no, the next ones come out the next week and the next." So, I forgot that about that series, but it is great, so I am liking that. I'm currently obsessing over Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. It is on repeat, and I don't know if you do this, Madeline, but when a new album comes out or you find a new album or playlist, do you just play it into the
All
ground? Like
Oh, yeah, all day,
Yeah,
on repeat,
yeah.
like and I would say this album is a no skip, like, I
Mhm, same.
Taste is have you watched the Taste music video?
I haven't, but I need to because I
Oh
feel like everyone is talking about it.
my gosh. I, first of all, have, like, a girl crush on Jenna Ortega? Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
who
yeah.
plays Wednesday Adams, and she's in that, and just since they've both come from Disney, like,
Mhm.
you they do I don't wanna spoil it for you, but it's
Okay,
just
okay.
I'm like, good for them, where it's scandalous, but you're just like,
Mhm.
every Disney, like, where it's like, you knew they needed this, like,
Yeah,
outbreak? I don't know if that's the right word
yeah.
for people to not just always look at them as the Disney girls, and I'm just like, it's so good, it's so good.
Mhm. Okay, I'll watch it later today. For recommending, I don't know why, but I have never tried this brand, and I went through, like from moving, I went through a lot of things, and I had a lot of, like, really low, like, lotions and body wash and, like, so many things, so I recently went to Target. I actually went to Super Target, and I haven't been to Target in a really long time, and so it was so exciting, it was like kid in the candy store, and I got a lot of things from Ashley Tisdale's brand Frenchie, and I hope I'm saying that
Mm.
right, Frenchie,
Mhm.
um, and I love the cashmere vanilla is probably my favorite scent and all they're all great though. Like I feel like I can't choose just one. But my sister actually wears the perfume from that and it's so again it was like it's always a scent that's in the back of my head like to me that's her signature scent. Like she's always a vanilla girl. So that made sense that she goes to that. But I recently got a lot of like the other like there's like a magnesium stick, there's like lotion, a body wash, like it's just
Ooh.
the magnesium stick in particular is really really nice. So if you guys haven't used that before, it's great on like sore muscles or honestly just like before like going to sleep or relaxing. So definitely recommending that. And treating, so this is actually very very random, but a really cool product I think. So I know we've talked about it before, our love for, like, mocktails and, like, non-alcoholic beverages, and I think for me, it I'm really picky about my beverages. I don't know why. I always have been. Like, if I'm going to a bar, I'm ordering the same thing every time. If I'm going to a wedding, I have the same thing I'm ordering there, like, I'm just a creature of habit, and I'm just really particular with, like, my beverages. So I recently got this brand called Pharos. It's Pharos, and it's a non-alcoholic. I guess I could call it seltzer. I think that's what it says. It's like a non-alcoholic, like premium seltzer, but it's made with real fruit juice and clean ingredients for being a bottled beverage. And it
Okay.
is so good. Their best flavor is blood orange lime, and that's what I'm going to treat myself to because I need to go back in and grab it because I just can't stop thinking about it. So, and
Wait,
that is,
where and
oh,
where
yeah.
did you get it?
Yeah, so it's so you can buy it online, but local to where we live in the Tampa Bay, there's a non-alcoholic bottle shop called Urban Flow.
Mm.
HERBAN, like herb and flow. I'm like, I feel like I need to clarify the spelling of that. But yeah, it is such it's so good. Now I'm like, fixating on it. I need to get it. But it's such a good it's a great like it's a great like poolside like drink, but it's also a fun mocktail, like, you could pour it, like, over ice, you could put, like, a lime in it because it's blood orange lime. But I think also I really love blood orange. Like, that is something,
Yeah.
like, if I'm ever at a restaurant and I see, like, a blood orange margarita or, like, anything else of that sort, I'm probably 9 times out of 10 going to order that. So, yeah, highly recommend that brand if you're looking for like a non-alcoholic alternative or just a mocktail or honestly, I think just like a refreshing beverage. And that is my weekly report.
Okay, I love that. Should we get into then our water cooler?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, this week they say, "Hey everyone, I have someone who is running for a seat on the Board of Education in their town. They want some people with social media marketing. I have some ideas, or sorry, they want some help with social media marketing. I have some ideas, but has anyone ever done this type of service before? It will only be for a few months leading up to the election, so it's not a long term thing."
Mm. Ooh, this is a good one. Do you want me to start, Madeline, or
Yeah, 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 yeah.
okay? So I actually think there's one thing about this client project to me that seems really exciting and might be an unpopular opinion, but I like that it's a short term project
Mm-hmm.
because I think in my head, I'm very like goal oriented and like data oriented. So if I can think about, I don't know specifically when this election would be, like maybe it's a 3 month, like 3 months from now would be the election, just if it's kind of around the same time in November. So if I would think about it from that way, to me, I can really set goals in that time frame that I think I could really achieve in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And so for that sake, that excites me because I feel like now I have a really cool case study. Now, if you also wanted to do more marketing like this in the political sector, I guess we could say, then I would say that's a great, political marketing case study as well. But I think the biggest thing advice that I could give is that, or two things, right? It's local, so your strategy on social media needs to be really localized, right? So you don't need to really think about anything else other than thinking about your client's position in the community. So I think with that, that can help you create a lot of content around maybe what's happening in the community, like what are like local businesses in the community, like kind of thinking about it in the sense of how would your candidate probably what's the word for that when they go around, I'm like blanking on the word. You know what I mean? When they,
Yes.
is it campaigning? I feel like I
Yes,
wanna call like
campaigning. Yes,
okay, I was
yes,
like, "Wait,
yes.
is that the word?" So when they're campaigning, right, they're going around, like, they're door knocking on all the businesses, they're in the coffee shop, they're sitting down, they're talking to the patrons in there about, who they are, getting to know them. In this case, they're probably getting to know, do you have kids that go to any of these schools that would really kind of fall under their, like, jurisdiction? So, in that sense, think about it in the same sense for the social media strategy in terms of the content that you'll share would be geared towards those people in that community around different issues that their platform stands for. Like, and I'm sure, and again, that's a question to just have with your client to figure out those specific things. One thing too, figuring out what their opponent is also running for, that's a really big thing, like, is that person already in the seat? or are they both running for that seat? That can just help you know your messaging, right? Like you're not going to, do any sort of crazy crazy smear campaigns or anything like that, but you want to know like are they in the seat? Okay, the messaging is probably going to be light and uplifting. Like, do you want change? Do you want something new? Or if it's two people running for the same seat that's open, then maybe the messaging is a little bit differently in terms of here's what my client offers so and so towns families who, fall under that jurisdiction. Would you add anything to that, Madeline?
No, I think you said all that beautifully and perfectly. Because what I was going to say is just my advice would be to focus on building a strong, consistent message that resonates with the community. You said that. And then engaging with local issues and using targeted ads. If you're a weekly listener, just we do not do ads. Ad managers all the love and respect for you all, but
Yes.
I do believe targeted ads could be really effective. Um, and since it is only for a few months, I would prioritize quick wins like the video content, testimonials, and live interactions to build the momentum. Really, everything you just said, Jessica. So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. 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 And yeah, all the power to you. I know this episode will talk a little bit deeper into this topic and just being a social media manager during an election year, through politics. So, of course, any follow up to that, or for anyone else listening who is like, SOS send help, how do I navigate this time? Just know our inbox or our Facebook group is always open. The hashtag Manage Collective on Facebook if you ever need to lean on any one of us, or, Harmony or anyone else on our team in the group. We can definitely support during that time. So, should we dive into what's on our feed?
Yes.
Okay. So the millennial in me is smiling when I saw this update, but Instagram is rolling out music on profiles. And I have a lot of thoughts around it. I know we have very strong opinions towards Meta and new updates as they're rolling out very slowly in whatever way that they are doing them. But I do really love the idea of having a song on your profile
Mm,
in the sense of I feel like to me, I don't know if it's just because I'm like a music nerd, but I would use that as a song that delivers a message. Like
mhm.
a message to my audience or a message about a campaign. I just feel like it would be really fun, right? You're launching a new product. I'm sure there's a song that can relate to that product. You're doing something different in your business. Um, or maybe there's just a song that really correlates really close to what your brand is. And so I feel like it's really fun. I would love to see it on every single profile. And
Mhm.
I think from what I've seen, people who have the song on their profiles, I think it's been very random.
Yeah.
So I think I would love to see some sort of, I don't know if that's Instagram kind of updating the way it displays on profiles, or if it's something that you weave into your, and I don't even know how this would look, but like if you weave this into your Instagram bio. um like I think one thing that would be really fun, like if you're launching a new product or new service, say you're launching it on, let's say September 5th, for example, then, you could put like a little music note in your bio, like new coming on 9/5, like listen
Mm.
below. And I don't know, the song could be kind of like a fun kind of message with that. But I don't know. I think I would love everyone to see it on their profiles. I would love to see the creativity versus very random things. And I think,
Yeah.
like with anything, let's be really careful what songs we do choose for our profiles, for our clients' accounts, because I see brands that use even like audios on Reels and TikTok. And I'm like, why are you using this? This is
Mhm.
so off brand or just downright inappropriate. Like, did you
Y
even listen to, to what this song was about? So that would be like my final piece. But Madeline, what do you think about this update?
I I love it. I agree with everything you just said. I also think there's an opportunity for to tie in the notes. Like I feel like I wish
Yeah.
more brands would use the notes on Instagram. Oh, and that also reminds me, cuz did you see, this isn't what's on my feed, but I feel like this very much correlates, that you can now add notes to a post as well. And
Oh,
so,
yes,
like,
yes.
I attempted it on one of our um posts on hashtag manage with one of the emails, where it was like, what is your email, um I think I said signature, maybe. Now I can't remember. Now I need a is it gone? I don't know. It's gone. So maybe they disappear.
How long do they last? They're like, are they
Okay,
24 hours?
I'm gonna assume 24 hours, which
Okay.
that's kind of annoying, but I
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
at the same time.
yeah.
Um, I just wish more people would actually participate. I know that's such, like,
Mhm,
I'm a social media manager. I'm like, please engage with me. But I even see, I'm thinking of this one girl who I went to high school with, and she did a fall haul, Target haul, okay? And
mhm.
she used, so, like, in on that reel, she made a note, and it was like, I dot 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 am an autumn. And so if you watch Gilmore Girls, like, you'll obviously get it. But sometimes with notes too, I'm just like, that's so random, where to me, I wanted to participate. I wanted
Mhm.
to say something. And maybe I should have said something like, "Oh, like, are you watching Gilmore Girl, like, rewatching Gilmore Girls," or something like that. But I don't know, just open-ended questions.
Yeah,
Am I
yeah.
making sense? You know where I'm going with
Yes.
this?
Yes, no, I agree. Something that can keep, so I don't even know if it's keep the conversation going, but it's like it's conversation starters to where people
Yeah.
can, yeah, I agree.
So, because sometimes the millennial in me, observing, watching, that sounds so creepy, but obviously, like, scroll when I'm scrolling, and sometimes I wanna, and my friends know, I'll call them out, where I'm like, "We're why aren't we understanding how social media works? Like, we're supposed to be social
Mhm.
here,
Yeah.
and you all are disappointing me." So,
Yep, I
but
agree. Well, it is funny the difference in like millennials using Instagram versus Gen Z using Instagram. And like the same could be said for TikTok, right? Like we use it in two completely
yeah,
different ways. So yeah.
yes, yes. So, but
Yeah.
so overall, I think it's just one of those things Instagram honestly needs to roll out all at once, because it's annoying,
Hmm.
especially for social media managers who read about these new updates and we're like, "Oh, yay." And our brains start to think of all the ideas of how we could use it on our client's account, on our own accounts, and then it's like, "Just kidding." Well, and
Hmm.
then the next step or stage is like, "Oh, we're going to give it to you on this one account, but not this account."
Right.
And I'm just like,
Right.
"Can you
Which
just give
is,
it to,"
yeah.
and
Which is
oftentimes it's like it's the account that I didn't want it on, that I didn't need it on, that my idea
right.
wasn't connected to.
Right.
So,
You're like, I know of the perfect thing to do for this client account, but they're not going to get the feature for probably months and months, which is,
yes.
yeah, our everyday struggle as a social media manager. It's like social media managers versus Meta or versus insert any
Yeah.
platform here. But yeah. Perfect.
Yep.
Well, what's on your feed this week, Meta?
Okay, this is very niche, and I literally just came up with it. But I've noticed that I will stop my scroll on TikTok for these videos of husbands, and it's not just husbands, but it's people actually listening to Taylor Swift's songs, and, like, actually ab- absorbing the lyrics, and their minds being blown where they're like, this is actually a really good song. Like she's actually a good writer. And so I just love how many of them are actually real reactions versus like clickbait and slash getting my view. I don't know, but they bring me joy because this is something I was thinking about this weekend. Actually, let me just randomly share this because I feel like you'll appreciate this. So,
Mhm.
I went home this past weekend, okay, and I told you, like, my friend Allie, I've known her since I was 5, and anytime somebody asks me, "Oh, you're a Swiftie," I laugh, and she also laughs because she knows that I have 0 proof of this, but my biggest flex in life is being able to say that I saw Taylor Swift open for Rascal Flatts. And just
Mhm.
so I've grown with her, and these videos to me just I just love I feel like I get to relive those moments, that moment
Mhm.
in time. And just I was
Yeah.
feeling very nostalgic this past weekend too because like my niece is starting first grade and just so many things. So
Mhm.
that was what in a roundabout way that is what was on that is on my feed this week.
I love that. No, that's so true though, just in terms of, like, everyone's reactions, and I do think that is, like, the flex. Don't come for me, Swifties, but I
Right.
think that is the biggest flex that you saw
Right.
Taylor open for
Open.
Rascal Flatts.
Like, and everybody I need also I feel I need to say this too. I need everybody to chill out about Reputation, like, she's not gonna announce it. Like, that
Thank
if
you.
like, if we're gonna go down a rabbit hole, like, she's not gonna announce it. That, like, her she already gave us the Easter egg where she's like, "There's gonna
Mhm.
be 0 explanation, it's just going to be
Mhm.
Reputation." And I just need people to just calm down, okay?
Ye
Like, it's coming, but then nobody's giving enough attention on debut, and I'm sorry that this totally just became a whole like Taylor rant, and
Mhm.
maybe a lot of people are like, "Oh God, can we get to the topic of today?" Yes, we're getting there. We are
Yes.
getting there. Um,
Yep.
but yes,
I
okay.
do wanna add
Well,
one last thing before we
yeah,
dive into the topic
yeah, yeah.
about this, but obviously Taylor, master marketer of our lifetime, going to go
Yes.
down in history, in the textbooks, our grandkids, great-grandkids, they will learn when they're in their, marketing and advertising schools,
101.
but right, right, and so her use of Easter eggs to me is obviously so fascinating. I know we've talked about it before, but the fact that Swifties are always looking for Easter eggs in her friends, and I know her friends have been a part
Mhm.
of Easter eggs in the past, but I don't know, there's something about it that in my head I think she's done such great groundwork that now I honestly don't think these things are Easter eggs. I just think it's like, and I'm not trying to sound so woo, I'm just like, the universe is aligning perfectly for her. And that is where, like, because I think I saw, like, Brittany Mahomes just posted her, like, 1989th post on Instagram,
Oh
obviously
God. Oh
1989.
God.
And
Yeah.
people are like, oh my God, this is magnificent. And I'm just like, I don't think that means
It's
Reputation is coming. I like it,
no.
I like it. But it's just it's so fascinating to me that I love that about Swifties and even non-Swifties, like, they will not admit it, but they love the Easter eggs too, and again, I think it's just for doing it so often, being so great at, setting up those Easter eggs in the past, that now everything's just purely coincidental, and I feel like that's a lot how, like, the world works, and so that's my final note of Taylor Swift for this week.
Exactly, for this week. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into this week's topic. However, we're still going to give you one more disclaimer because we are not endorsing or supporting any political candidates, parties, or ideologies. Our aim is to equip you with the insights needed to manage your platforms effectively, ensuring that your content remains balanced and your audience feels respected regardless of their political views.
Mhm. Yep. I think that really sums I'm okay, no, I'm joking, we're going into the topic, but I think that really does sum up our like I mentioned at the top of the show, our intention for this
Hmm.
episode. So we have some FAQs that we wanna kind of run through to really guide our conversation, share our not only our perspective, but our experience as social media marketers who've navigated election years, political stances or not, or what have you with clients, and kind of help equip you with those tools to do it, whether it's your first time doing it. I think I think sometimes this can bring up conversations with clients that may or may not be uncomfortable. Of course, that is up to
Hmm.
you to set those boundaries with your client. And I think that is the first thing that I want to say just before we get into these FAQs and share our experiences is that you have the power to set these boundaries with your clients. For
Mhm.
myself, I do not dabble into um, politics, religion, anything
This is why
that
we're
anything that goes anything that could be up for debate in terms of current events in the world. Let's just sum it at that. And so that is something that I will have conversations with clients all the time. I think Madeline, you mentioned that is a clause in your contract. I actually don't know if that's a clause in our contract, and I wrote a note down during our planning call to make sure it is. Because I can't believe it if it's not. I want to say it is because I do know that there is something about like
Hmm.
religion and things like that in my contract. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping politics is mentioned as well. But it's something that I'm okay having the conversation with clients around what it is. But I think myself as founder of Social Savvy, it is honestly in my role to protect the team and to protect the brand. And so by doing that, I like to remain neutral as a team or myself. We are not going to create content in one way or another because those are not conversations we're having internally. I don't need to know. The team probably doesn't want to share anyway, and it's great. We're like on the same page in that. And so I don't want to put anyone in a role or give them a task to create content that might go against their own personal beliefs. So, for that sense, it just makes sense. And at the end of the day, and I'll share more once we dive through the FAQs, my personal belief is just neutrality anyway. I don't think it should go in business. And so I don't put it in mine. I don't want to put it in clients. Um, we can kind of talk through navigating that way. But would you add anything to that, Madeline, or do you want to kick us off with the first FAQ?
I'm gonna kick us off with the first FAQ because I
Okay.
feel like I'm just going to reiterate honestly everything you said in case you guys weren't aware. We are online and business besties and have similar views, and this is around this topic. Our views are very much the same, and I
Mhm,
know that we had discussed this episode honestly at the beginning of the year because we knew
mhm,
that we've gotten multiple people have reached out to us lately about this topic and
mhm.
asking for our advice. So I'm excited that enough of you trust us with this topic. So let's get
Yeah,
into it. So the
yeah.
first question: how can social media managers separate their personal political beliefs from their professional roles? And I think you, to kick us off, already
Mhm,
said that. I think one way to do this too is by focusing on your client's goals, their target audience, and brand message rather than your own views. I think it's important to follow the client's guidelines and the company's social media policy to ensure that the content aligns with their values and not yours. And m- maybe the client or company that you're working for doesn't have a social media policy, which red flag, red flag, and you need to help them create that immediately.
mhm,
But if a situation arises where your personal beliefs might conflict with the work, I think it's best to discuss it with your client or employer to find a solution that again respects both parties, the employer and the employee.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you
Well
add
said.
anything to that?
Well said. No,
Okay.
I agree with everything. I think yeah, I think really developing a policy with your client if they don't have one is not only going to benefit them, but going to benefit you as
Mhm.
the professional social media manager here. And that's where
And the
you can yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. And
No, you're good.
I was gonna say the policy too, like you should have multiple, like in that policy, you need to have things like how you go up, like I think the perfect example of this comes to teachers. Like
Mhm,
I was just having this conversation with my friend Allie, who is a teacher, because I know in the past, like there have been teachers who've gotten in trouble for posting their personal life, which again, they are
mhm,
more than just a teacher. And I have my own
mhm,
thoughts and opinions on
mhm,
that topic, but that's a whole other topic. But she has a social media policy to reference of like,
mhm. Yeah,
obviously like not going to follow students, but just like big
right,
picture that this
right.
this social companies need to have social media policies, and like multiple things need to be within this policy.
Yeah, agree, agree. Okay. All right, let's move on to our next question. How should social media managers respond to politically charged comments or messages from followers?
Okay, so my first thing is to consult an expert. If you don't specialize in political marketing, I
Mhm,
recommend that your client consults with a dedicated political marketing agency for their guidance. And I also think it's important to recognize that, and it's perfectly acceptable to acknowledge that social media managers can't cover every niche.
mhm,
And s yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that, where it's like like you may not be, no, you might not have a poli sci major background of any sort, so you just
mhm,
know that that's okay. I know in the past I feel like maybe when I was first getting started, because we've been through multiple campaign or
mhm.
yeah, political campaigns. And yeah, okay, I know
Yeah.
the questions that are coming up, so I'm leaving that thought for another question.
Right, right.
Um
No, but I agree, and I think my perspective is that if your client is receiving politically charged comments or messages or what have you, it's it's not coming out of the blue. So I think Madeline's
Mhm.
response to get that consultation with someone who is more well versed in that, um, I think that could I think also, PR professionals, there are PR agencies,
Mhm.
PR consultants who specialize in this as well. And so really the only reason I'm suggesting that is because again, they're not coming out of nowhere. So I
Hmm.
think, what we all know without naming specific names, giving specific brands, there are companies that take a political stance. We are a free country. You can do as such. My opinion is that you stay neutral to avoid all crises that is going to come from it. Because let's face it, that is what's going to happen in this digital age. And so something is happening, something is being said, whether in real life, depending on what your client is doing, someone is at the top or at any part of the organization is maybe going back to that first question we just answered, they're attaching their personal beliefs with their professional roles, which happens especially as our clients, typically the business owner, they have that right to do that. Now, if they're getting something that is comments or DMs or anything like that, it needs to be escalated. I don't think that would ever fall under any of our scopes to where, okay, well, let's craft a nice response or let's craft something. I think we leave it, get consultation on what should happen, and then we go from there. Because that consultation might be respond in X way, hide the comment, delete the comment.
Mm,
delete the message, block the user. Like there's so many options that could come from that. All of those have their own pros and cons. And so I
mhm,
really think it's something as charged as politics, or, we can even bring in other things as well. It could be religion, it could be anything like current events. Like that should never fall under our scope. So, all of that to say, when in doubt, don't feel the need to jump on it and take quick action. That's something
mm,
that should be escalated to your client, to someone on their team, someone in, if they have like counsel, legal department, a PR
mhm.
consultant like Madeline mentioned, and go from there.
Yep, and I will add one more thing maybe because I feel like we didn't so obviously find a consulting expert, number
Hmm.
1. Number 2, I would say, develop a strategy. So like let's say you for whatever reason you choose, you're not going to consult with a PR firm, but anybody and you're going to take it on yourself. I think you need to choose or you need to schedule a meeting with your client obviously as soon as
Hmm.
possible and start to discuss and outline a clear response strategy for these type of comments to ensure that both you and the client are aligned on the approach and tone to maintain consistency and professionalism. And then
Hmm.
lastly, the last thing I would maybe add is, again, trying to stay very neutral here, but I still believe that you should recognize that some comments are probably best left unaddressed to avoid
Hmm.
unnecessary conflict and prevent giving attention to negative or disruptive individuals because this is still social media. This is still the wild, wild internet where there's trolls, and like Jessica said, where if your client or if this account is starting to get these types of comments, like you've probably received these before. There might just be somebody who's trying to come for your company, and you're just feeding the troll. You're just feeding the
Hmm.
troll, giving it what it wants. So
Yeah.
that's one way, and then the other thing, where it's like if you are going to respond because, you've spoken with your client, you've got the game plan, I would still recommend that you maintain a professional and courteous tone.
Hmm.
Cuz just be kind.
Yep. Agreed. Agreed.
Okay. Okay, number 3, our next question is, should brands or businesses post election related content? If so, what tone and approach should they take? I think it depends. I do think it depends on the brand. If you're going if taking a stance aligns with your brand values and you want to share election related content, go for it. However, I think before making a decision, I would recommend consulting with a PR firm, a marketing expert who specializes in this to guide you and your client on the appropriate tone and approach. Um, because it's going to be crucial for your business to understand that social media managers, again, might not have a background in political science where this is out of
Hmm.
their house, their scope.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I know I mentioned my personal stance for myself and how I act as a
Mhm.
marketer for clients is neutral. I
Yep.
will say though, if I do have and I'll say it, heart to heart with a client and they're like, "No, this is my brand. I'm going to get the consultation. I'm going to go through with it." Heck, even if that's a heart to heart and it's a mutual of parting ways, all the power to them. But I would just want to say if that I would add, I completely agree with Madeline's take. If you are going to take that stand. Like you
Mhm.
be in it for the long run because there is nothing from my very minimal PR background, like being proactive versus reactive. Like
Mhm.
and I think it's just maybe the type of marketer I am as well. I would much rather be proactive, get ahead of things, plan for what's going to come versus let's be messy, let's be sloppy, let's not really stick to our brand and be reactive. So if you're going to take a stand, take the stand. If that is what you've been consulted on, you know the best way to approach it. You've consulted counsel as well, legal, like anything that could come from it. And two, I know we'll get into our next question, which will be about this as well. But if you know too that your audience is going to, for lack of a better word, ride that wave with you, go for it. There should be no reason why you should kind of backstep. And I think that is what I see a lot of brands do that as well. And again, I think it might come down to they never, you know, maybe someone who shouldn't have made that decision to greenlight it, maybe they did. Maybe they didn't have that background that Madeline's talking about. And so they're like, okay, let me backstep. So I think if you're going to take it, take the stand and stay in it for the long run.
And I also would just one more thing I would add to that, where it's like you better hope that, again, whatever stance you're taking, you're showing that stance, like, in those values, because I know that
Mhm.
oftentimes I like, so, and this is just chatter I also see from some businesses that I follow who have decided, and I think for them, it always comes down to, like, the morals, the values, and they though, and it makes sense for
Mhm.
them because their brand has already made an emphasis on those values that I'm like, "You know what? To me, that makes sense," and that you're going for it, so, yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. Okay, sorry. I lost I lost our place in the list. I think okay. So how can social media managers gauge the political sensitivities of their audience? I think this is kind of what I was hinting to my answer before. Really knowing your audience
Mhm.
is is never a bad business plan, ever. I know we always preach it here on the podcast to know your audience, fully understand them. In my mind, a strategy is always evolving. A big piece of that is understanding that the audience that we're marketing to, and it's always developing because I think we're always learning more about our audience, as we should. I think it
Mm.
helps us make better marketing decisions, it helps us make better business decisions. And so if you really know your client's audience, then you will know just through, honestly, I think through social listening is how you can really gauge it. Is that what you were gonna say?
Yep, yep.
So, I think yeah, I think really through social listening is how you can really gauge the insensitivities. Sensitivities,
Mhm.
okay. We are, like, not I'm not able to speak words today, but you guys know what I mean. You can gauge the sensitivities of your audience. So, since I stole the words out of your mouth, Madeline, would you add anything to social listening
Yes.
there?
I would, and just know that there are social tools out there that can help you also monitor these conversations.
Mhm,
What stinks is that I feel like oftentimes these social listening tools are for bigger companies.
mhm.
Y Your social media manager is gonna act as your social your social listening tool, but, like, just know, like, if you are a bigger company, that there are social listening tools out there. And then
Mhm,
additionally, I would say maybe consider conducting. So let's say you've decided, like, nope, you're going to make this stance. I would say you should consider conducting some surveys or polls to directly ask your audience about their views on certain issues, because
yeah,
that data will help you understand where your audience stands and how to approach politically sensitive content. So,
mhm.
that's
Yeah, I
just what
like
I would
that.
add as well.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. Yeah.
Okay. Next question we have is, how can social media marketers diplomatically handle requests to post politically charged content? Put it in your contract. Put it in your
Yep.
contract.
Yep.
Since starting my business, it's similar to Jessica, what she said at the very beginning of this
Mhm,
discussion is, I don't post about politics, religion, or money, which I know might sound a bit old fashioned and like shows my age and like my parents'
Mhm.
age, because I feel like that is how I was raised to avoid those
Mhm.
topics.
Yeah.
Obviously, I talk about those topics in my personal life, but that takes it back to like one of the first questions where it's like that is how I separate my professional self from my personal self,
Mhm.
where I just do not talk about those things in business or the post. And I've also told clients in the past where first it's in my contract, but I've also in the beginning I would always tell them like if you want to go that route, if you want to post those things and like show where you stand, you
Mhm.
have to post it. I will not be posting it. I will not be writing the caption because maybe you don't want to part ways with this client and you've done what you can. You've advised
Mhm.
them. You're like, I'm really not feeling good about this, but you still love them, where it's just because I think in today's world too, like never mind. I'm not gonna go there. We're staying neutral. Because I was just gonna say, like, we're staying neutral. So,
Mhm.
but that is what I
Yep.
would tell my clients. It's just I don't want to touch that with a 10-inch
Mhm.
pole.
Agreed. Agreed. I will say too, I think the best it goes this the answer to this question goes really hand in hand with the boundaries. I think our contract is our
Hmm.
best boundary creator, holds us accountable for those boundaries. And I think the other thing as well, contracts, I know we talked about this before, they protect us as social media marketers and business owners, but they also protect our clients as well. And so they're in there for a reason. I don't know, but as a business owner, I would love to know that who I am hiring is a professional in this stance, that they are not going to, and for lack of a better word, because I just can't think of the best way to say it, but they're not going to go rogue, right? And they're not going to post something
Right.
that is not aligned with the company or with the brand. And so I think the contract really holds you accountable. The other thing that I like to say that because there are times where, and I think it's a case by case basis where I think you can bend your boundaries. I think you can bend your contract even. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer. Disclaimer. Number 3 of the episode. Consult your attorney before you do that. Don't just say because hashtag manage told you so. But that being said, you can do that. I think I've witnessed that as someone who's received services. I've done it as someone who's given services. Always know the repercussions that could come after that. Again, that's why you would consult your attorney or any legal consult that you have. Because disclaimer, we are not attorneys, and none of our advice is
Hmm.
legal advice. But I think you can bend that. And so when I have done that in the past, now again, I am not going to ever step into that role to create that content that
Hmm.
is pro whatever you're wanting, or again if it's anything politics, anything political falls under the politics category, and a lot of things do fall under that. Like it's not only the opponents, it's not only the parties, but it's the issues, I think, as well. And so that's one thing that I really weave into that. But I'm someone who I like to give options, and with that I like to give options in writing because I like to also cover my butt as well. And to Mylan's point, we need to have a distance ourselves from that. And so in my experience, and I'll share this as well because I think this really goes into the next question, is giving options of we can do it this way, we can do it that
Hmm.
way, and then there's always a third way we can do it. There's always I don't want to put it as like a win-lose or a win-win or a lose-lose situation or a win-win situation, but I mean that is really like when we think about things, they always our actions always have repercussions, whether it be good, whether it be bad. So, if I were to be in any sort of stance like this or position with a client, then maybe I give them options. And maybe one of them is, okay, I don't like when you do this, when clients do this, but maybe I'll give you access to your account for a little while. But I need you to know
Mm,
that
mhm,
this is what's going to
mhm,
happen. This is going to affect our audience. This is going to affect things that they'll maybe say about these posts. Also, too, it's going to affect everything that you pay me to create, that you pay our team to create. No
yeah,
one's going to care about an awesome sale or a new product or a funny reel. if if we've got some heavy stuff over here. So it's really going to affect things in that way. And so I also think in my head, this same thing goes for our final question. How should social media managers approach the post election period? I think first and foremost, know you're not in it alone. You've got the hashtag
Mm.
managed collective community and all of the wonderful social media marketers who are in our Facebook group as well. So we're in your corner for whatever happens. It's a weird and also unknown and scary time for us as well. I think no matter how any election goes, it's always 50-50, right? There's always going to be one side who is not happy and one side who is happy. That is just that's how it works. It's very
Mhm.
simple in that terms. And I think from Madeline and I's experience working in social media for a very long time and seeing a lot of elections and just different social aspects, it affects a lot of people and it affects for
Mhm.
people very big issues and it affects people's livelihoods. It affects so many things. And so what happens on social media after that is very unprecedented. We don't know. So we really can't give you the best advice in that, but just know that we'll obviously be here as a resource. We'll still remain neutral. We'll kind of share like what we're doing if anything does, happen. The biggest thing for me in my experience with this, and I'm not going to go too much into detail, but all I want to say is 2020 was a very roller coaster year. You guys all know all of the things that happened in 2020. I don't need to mention just one. And I think, there was craziness in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. It
Mhm.
was like never ending, is what it felt like. I mean, here we are 4 years later, so it didn't. We got through it. But that was a year where one,
Oh my.
social savvy grew like crazy, but it was like, man, it was insane. The kind of conversations that I had, the the real true colors that I learned from a lot of clients, that was one thing that I think 2020 really showed me, and so that is where I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I need to get legit. I need to get this in my contract. I need better boundaries." But everything post-election and just post-political change, let's leave it at that because I don't wanna get too specific in detail. I always present the options. I'll present an option that works for this side, and I'm not saying side in terms of politics, but I'm saying this works for the business owner, this works for your audience, but as a marketer and as the number one fan and person in your corner, this is what I think we need to do because this is gonna be the most neutral. So, that's what I'm that's where I'm going at with that. What would you add to that,
I
Madeline?
No, nothing. I just remember though, I remember when I don't know if you remember this, but I vividly remember messaging you when one of these events happened because I wanted to just basically be like, is she on the same page
Mhm.
as me? Like, is Jessica, like,
Yep.
is she telling her clients what I'm telling my clients? Because again, I
Mhm.
love and respect Jessica's opinion, like her
Mhm.
thoughts. And I remember you saying exactly that, and it was this my same, like, also what I was going to say, but I think I just needed that moral support of
Yeah.
I'm consulting you as well, like another social media like thought leader, where I'm like, okay, are we on the same
Mhm.
page? Like, are you also telling your client this? Because we both knew
Yep.
where it was a big, like,
Mhm.
one of those, I, dare I say, like, damned if you do, damned if you don't, where,
Mhm. Yep.
but
Yep.
at the end of the day, it
Yep.
was just like letting the client know that you have this option, or this option, which
Mhm.
this is the one I advise.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And
I
sometimes I think that's yeah, that I remember that. No, now I that jogged my memory because. But I think for myself, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know, this is also during a global pandemic. So I'm
Mhm.
sitting here, we're all like, I think as just humans and marketers like working from home, we're like going crazy. Like, so in my head, I'm like, okay, this is very serious. Yes, 2020
Mhm.
was an awesome business year, but on the other hand, I'm like, that was new to me. Like
Mhm.
that was the first time that business was good because it was not it was not good or as good before. So I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to literally explode all of that? And so, like, Madeline coming to me and also being like, yes, like, I'm doing the same thing. I was like, okay, I got it. Like, I can hit send on the email. I already did it, but I'm like, I can still stick to to what I did. And I'll say too, I had very good response from every client except for one. And to be honest, we had a phone call. That was the end of our client relationship. I learned way too much about this client. And honestly, I think we always get like this. I mean, as marketers and freelancers, we're always, it's a churning business. Clients are churning. And so that's always going to happen. And I think we grow out of clients, and I just realized I I grew out of this client. Like, I loved it from the start, but I really grew out of it, and it really helped me see, like, that it was not the best client. Sometimes, like, hindsight's always 20/20, right? So it's really knowing, and as someone who, my values are one thing, but my business values are, I'm neutral. Like, I'm in this, like, I think at the time I don't think I had anyone like on Team Social Savvy at that point, but I knew I wanted to get to that point. And you don't get to that point by kind of breaking out of your values. So anyway, all that to say, I hope that we I hope that we covered everything. Again, I think we did a great job patting ourselves on our back and staying neutral, because this is a topic that honestly, even I don't know if I ever actually took any poli sci classes in college. I wish I did. Like, I wish I had some sort of background, but you really can't be 100% unbiased. And I am sure there were times where we maybe said something that could sway one way or the other. So I'm not saying we're completely, we're not perfect by any means, but I just want everyone who's listening to this episode, and if you're at this point right now, thank you. That really, like, means a lot every week, but I think especially for this episode, that is really hard to do as content creators for Madeline and myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Anything
will
you would
say
add, Madeline?
no, I think that was perfect. No notes. No, what do the young kids say? I don't even know. But
I don't know. If they're listening, please let us know. Sometimes um but no, I think we covered a lot of good things. I'm sure, I hope in the best way possible. Again, like we said, it's unprecedented times just being an election year. I'm sure we'll do a follow-up episode in one way or another, because there might be more things, especially if we got more questions from you guys. That would be awesome. Again, if we needed to do a whole episode of part two of this and it's just a whole bunch of water coolers, like, we can do it. So
please.
yeah, definitely DM us at hashtag manage on Instagram if that's your favorite way to communicate. Post inside the hashtag manage collective Facebook group and let us know so we can answer any questions. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Madeline, anything else you want to say or
Nope.
close us out?
Nope. I'll just say be sure that you're following us on Instagram, that you're in the Facebook free community group, and to subscribe to the Social Club, which is our weekly newsletter where we send all the links, and it's funny. I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I also write it though.
I love that
But
Madeline said that, because she does write it, guys. But it is funny. Arbany and I are always laughing in Slack, but that was funny.
and to leave us a review. And okay, last thing, I actually wanted to sprinkle this earlier in the podcast episode. So this is just a note to Jessica. Now you're getting a little glimpse of like our planning meeting. But I meant to say earlier, if you found this episode helpful or think it could benefit another social media manager or just whoever, please share it. Please share it on your
Mhm.
stories, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on all the things. It means the world to us. We're
Mhm.
out here trying to be on Spotify's top 10. We maybe not this year, but eventually.
Mhm. Yep.
And by you guys sharing the episodes, it means the world to us. We love seeing that you enjoyed the episodes, and it really does make us smile and it keeps us going. So we
Mhm.
will catch you next week on the airwaves.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, hit that follow button, and if you really love us, be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening from.
And if you want to be one of our online besties, you can shoot us a DM over at hashtag managed on Instagram and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Or, you could also share all your deepest, darkest secrets. Kidding. But we mean it when we say you can shoot us a DM. We love building real, authentic relationships with you.